Hello guys, thanks for joining me. Today I'm going to show you a Wehrmacht leather belt which I've got in my collection, and it's the so-called M1934 officer's belt. These were introduced, as the name suggests, in 1934, and they were used by German Wehrmacht officers up until 1945. And these came in basically two versions. The belts with the silver buckles were for officer grade or lieutenant up to colonel, and then the golden buckles were for generals and above. So this is a general officer's belt. It is black, as you can see. They were initially made in a kind of a reddish brown color and used throughout the war. This belt here was made by the company of Schloss in Solingen, and they also made party belts for the Nazi party officials, and they're slightly different. This is a Wehrmacht belt. One way you can see that is because of the buckle. The party buckles tended to be a little bit thinner and a little bit more rounded, and this is a little bit more angular. The belts were initially about 5 centimeters wide. And I think in July 1943 there was a order put in through the Wehrmacht that all belts had to be made black, so they were either to be dyed black at the factory or dyed black if people had them already issued. I don't think many people did that anyhow. The order was received in late 1943, so it didn't last very long. I have no idea if this belt here is factory blackened or whether it had been blackened afterwards. It's black all over, including the inner. However, I can kind of date the belt. As I say, these belts came out in 1934, but this particular item here I think is probably a 1943 onwards belt. And the reason I'm saying that is, as I said, the earlier belts were 5 centimeters wide. This particular one here is 4.5 centimeters wide. And there was a ruling in May of 1943 that to save leather, the belts were reduced in size to 4.5 centimeters. So that kind of makes me think this belt here is a 1943 onwards production belt. It's quite a nice item, actually. It's just a simple belt. I mean, there's nothing fancy about it, but it's going to look quite good with my holster. So I'm going to add my holster to the belt. As I say, the belt is maker marked. There's a maker mark on the end here, and you can see a 3-legged swastika device. As I say, I'll take a photograph of it. And there's also a maker mark to the buckle. So the buckle was made by a different company. It would have come into the company that made the belts and would have been attached to the leather belts in the Schloss factory, and then would have been issued. And as you can see, it's pretty good condition. It has the usual set of 2 holes on the end here. There's 8 rows of 2, which is the normal number of holes for the prongs. And as I said, this is probably a modern day 34-inch sized belt. There's no markings on the inside, so as I say, I don't know whether the belt was blackened at the factory or whether it was done afterwards, but it's in very good condition, and it's a nice item for my collection. Anyhow, as I say, it'll look quite good with the gecko holster added to it. Anyhow, I think that's it for the moment. The company also made belts for officials of the Nazi party, but one way to tell the difference is the official belts for the Nazi party were slightly wider. They were up to 5 and 5.5 centimeters wide. The buckles were a slightly different shape, and more importantly, a lot of the political belts were RZM marked on the buckle, and this one doesn't have one of those markings. So as I say, this is a Wehrmacht General's belt. Anyhow, enough yapping for me. Hope you enjoyed that little video and enjoyed looking at that 1934 pattern officer's belt. Okay, as always, thanks for watching, and bye for now.